Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Today I'm going to present a topic on academic ranking of universities. Thank you, Pak SciComm, for giving me the opportunity to share my thoughts on this topic. So basically, academic ranking of universities is one of the important topic that academicians and universities around the globe they consider it very seriously. And when we talk about academic ranking of universities, it means that we are talking about a scientific way of quantifying the performance of universities. Basically, we all know that there are very good universities around the globe, like University of Cambridge, University of Oxford, Stanford University, MIT, Harvard, University of Toronto. There are many best universities around the globe. And when we take the name of these universities, an impression come into our mind that these are the top ranked universities, and we rely on the ranking of international institutes, which provides the ranking of these universities. So ranking of universities is basically an important criteria when an undergraduate or postgraduate student try to secure admission in those universities. Secondly, the performance of economies, the performance of countries also depend upon the performance of these universities, because these universities try to shape the economies of the countries. These universities try to shape the future generation of the countries. So it is very important to understand how these universities perform and what are the basic criteria for ranking of these universities. If we understand the ranking criteria, we will be in a good position to understand what are the factors that we can consider to improve the performance of our own universities. So basically, when we talk about technological advancement and scientific research, you know, all these inventions, all these advancement around us is due to the scientific inventions and discoveries. And these scientific inventions and discoveries are the result of scientific research. And this scientific research is being carried out by the scientists, we all know. And these scientists are basically produced in these universities. So the role of scientific research, inventions, discoveries are directly related to the quality of research being conducted in these universities. So the quality of scientific research or research carried out by the scientists is need to be of high quality, and it should have a direct impact on the society. Now, when we talk about having an impact of research on the society, it can be measured in different ways. For example, when we talk about the impact of scientific research, long-term impact of scientific research, for example, a researcher or scientist propose a theory or invent something that we can realize after 40 years or 50 years, then we call it, in general, long-term impact of research on the society, on the technological front. Then we have mid-term impact. So those scientists and researchers who addresses the problems that are to be tackled or addressed within the next 10 or 20 years, they can be classified as mid-term impact of research. And then we have the short-term impact of research, in which we are considering the problems faced currently by the industry and society. So we can classify the impact of our research or impact of scientific research into these three categories. Now, if we understand this classification, we can easily understand that there are different categories of scientists and researchers around the globe. They conduct their research in one of these classified domains. So we cannot expect, a, a quick outcome from a theoretical physicist or from a theoretical scientist, which is working on a problem which need to be realized after 40 or 50 years. So we cannot measure the impact of that research. Similarly, for researchers and scientists which are working in the domain in which the problems are addressing for the next 10 or 20 years, we cannot quantify the impact of their research until and unless 10 or 20 years will be passed. However, we can see the impact of short-term research, where researchers and scientists directly address the problem currently being faced by the industry and society. And yes, we can see the impact of that research on the society. So the crux of the matter, the bottom line is that it is very important to quantify the performance of these scientists and researchers and quantify the performance of these universities. This will help us to realize how our universities are performing and which are the areas where we can perform better. Now, these universities basically provides higher education, and the purpose of higher education is to generate knowledge, is to equip graduates with knowledge, personal development of students, to make society better, to carry out research, and there are many other purposes which you can see over the literature. So higher education and scientific research is performed in universities, and international ranking of universities help us to quantify these factors, whether the higher education institutes are achieving their purpose or not. We all know that there are different academic ranking bodies. For example, Times Higher Education World University Ranking, we have QS ranking, we have Shanghai ranking, and we have U-Multirank. So these are few of the famous academic ranking bodies. Now, here I mention the link of these uh, academic ranking bodies. You can go and explore them in more detail. Now, I first go into the detail of Shanghai ranking. So, Shanghai ranking is one of the reputed ranking body which rank different international universities into different categories. So they have a weightage of 100%, and they classify different different factors, and they consider different criteria, and they give different weightage to each of the criteria. For example, their first criteria is quality of education, means and how they measure it. They measure it, the alumni of an institution winning Nobel prizes and field medals. So they consider that the institute, the university is providing quality education when the university is producing those students which are able to win Nobel prizes and field medals, and they give the weightage of 10% to this particular criteria. Then they have a criteria which we called as quality of faculty. And within this criteria, they have two sub criteria. The first one is staff of an institution winning Nobel prizes and field medals, and highly cited researchers. So each of these sub criteria, they are weighting 20% each. So, for example, if a certain university, let's say University of Cambridge, has a faculty member which is winning a Nobel Prize, or which is winning a field medal, then they will give that university a 20% weightage. Similarly, if a university has a highly cited researcher, for example, University of Oxford has few highly cited researchers, then they will be giving a 20% weightage to that university. Now, definitely, they will normalize with respect to other universities and the top values in that particular criteria. But this is how they measure the quality of faculty. Then they also consider research output as a criteria. For example, they give 20% weightage to the university in which a research is published in Nature and Science journal. Similarly, if their papers are published and indexed in SCIE and SSCI index journals, then they give a 20% weightage. Means they see the number of papers published in these venues, and then they see the criteria of per capita performance of an institute, means how much funding that particular faculty member or researcher bringing to the institute, and this weighs 10%. So you can see, if a certain university wants to increase its ranking, they have to work on these criteria according to Shanghai ranking. So let's take an example of a particular university, um, University of Manchester. So if they want to achieve higher marks in the quality of education, and then they need to produce such alumni that wins the Nobel Prize and field medals. If they want to increase, if they want to get higher marks in their research output, then they need to motivate their faculty members to publish in top venues like Nature and Science. So you can see it's a very scientific way of ranking of universities, and all these factors are very important, playing an important role in the ranking of universities. In developed countries where we have well-established universities, they have dedicated departments, they have visions for next 10 year or 20 year, and they try to focus on these criteria, these factors, and they put their full focus on improving the quality of their education, the quality of their faculty, their research output, and their per capita performance, so that their overall ranking get increase in the international ranking of universities. So this is about Shanghai ranking. Now, if you see Times Higher Education Ranking, this is another international body which is in UK. They also provide international ranking of universities annually, and they have different pillars, and each pillar has a particular weightage, and then they give certain weights to different matrices, and then they come up with an overall ranking of the universities globally as well as continent wise and regionally. So their first pillar is basically teaching. So they give teaching an important a lot of importance. So they first rely on reputation survey. They try to get a survey from major stakeholders that are involved in the higher education sector, and they give weightage to 15% to this survey. Then they look at academic staff to student ratio. How many students are there, how many staff are there, and they give a weightage of 4.5%. Then they see how many doctorates awarded to bachelor's degree awarded ratio, and they also look at doctorates awarded to academic staff ratio. So they consider both ratios, means how many bachelor students a particular university is producing, and how many doctorate students a particular university is producing, and then they see the ratio. And they also see the ratio how many academic faculty members are there in a particular university, and how many doctorates are producing in a particular university. So they give weightage to both of these factors. And they also look at the institutional income of a particular university, how much university is earning. So this is how they try to quantify the teaching, the quality of teaching with different matrices. Then they have research pillar. So in research pillar, they have three basic metrics. First, they conduct the survey, and then they try to see how much research income a particular university is bringing, and then they also see research productivity. And within research productivity, they have detailed matrices which are given in their on their website. They also have a dedicated pillar of citations. They give 30% weightage to the citations produced by the researchers and research being carried out in that particular university. They also look at the international outlook of the institute or of the university. They see how many international students are there in a particular university, how many international staff are there, and what at which level international collaboration is going on in a particular university, and they give particular weight to each of these matrices. And finally, they have industry income. as a pillar, where they try to see how much industry income a particular university is bringing. So you can see when these international bodies they announce annually the international ranking of universities. They conduct a very scientific and systematic way of measuring the performance of universities in each particular area, in each with a dedicated metric, which are well established. It's not just they just come up with a ranking of universities. No, that's not the case. They go through each and every pillar, each and every criteria and their matrices, and then they scientifically measure, and they ask the proof from these particular universities to justify that they are meeting a particular metric, and what they are claiming is right. And then they produce this international ranking of universities. Let's go to the third ranking body, which is U-Multirank. So they have five basic pillars or five basic criterias. The first one is teaching and learning. The second one is research. The third one is knowledge transfer. The fourth one is international orientation. And finally, the fifth one is regional engagement. So they rank all the universities around the globe according to these five pillars or five criterias. So how they measure these different pillars or criterias? For teaching and learning, they basically consider how many bachelors, what is the graduation rate of bachelors or master's students, and whether they are graduating on time or not. And so they consider both bachelors and master cases. And this is how they measure the performance in the domain of teaching and learning. Then in terms of research, they have different criterias they consider. For example, they consider what is the citation rate in a particular university, how many research publications they are producing, absolute number and normalized size, and how much external income a particular university is bringing, and how much they have postdoc positions, professional publications, open access publications, and how many top cited publications are there. So this is how they measure and quantify the research domain. Then in terms of international orientation, they see how many foreign language bachelor programs or master's program a particular university is offering. A particular university is facilitating student mobility or not, whether a student can go and get some courses in any other university or not, or any other university's student can come to this particular university. How many international academic staff are there, how many international joint publications a particular university is producing, and how many international doctorate degrees a particular university is offering. So based upon these sub criteria, these matrices, they measure the performance in the domain of international orientation. Now, in terms of regional engagement, they see bachelor's graduates working in the region, master's student working in the region, what is the situation of internship in the region, and regional joint publications and income from regional sources, etc., etc. And then finally, how they measure knowledge transfer. They see how many publications are there with industrial partners, income from private sources, patents awarded, and spin-offs and publications cited in patents, and graduate companies being produced by a particular university. So these are the five major criteria that U-Multirank is considering. So now I want to shed some light on Nobel Prize winners. So from 1901 to 2020, there are 603 Nobel Prize, and these being awarded, and these Nobel Prize has been given to 962 personalities. Sometimes a Nobel Prize can be given to one or more person. So that's how we have 962 personalities which receive Nobel Prize. Now, in the domain of science, in physics, there are 114 Nobel Prize that have been awarded. In the domain of chemistry, 112 Nobel Prize, and in the domain of medicine, 111 Nobel Prize has been awarded. Now, what are the countries which have the highest Nobel Prize winners? Of course, the first one is USA, the second one is UK, the third one is Germany, and the fourth one is France. So if we see the number of Nobel Prize winners in a particular country or associated with a particular university, we can deduce that that country or that particular institute or university is performing better. The quality of education is better. So this is how these international ranking bodies they consider these Nobel Prize winners. So you can see in Shanghai ranking, they give 10% weightage to Nobel Prize winners, which are the alumni of a particular institute. So if University of Oxford has an alumni which receive a Nobel Prize, they give full marks to them. And if a faculty member, current faculty member of University of Oxford has received a Nobel Prize, then they give 20% weightage in that particular category. So this is how they measure the performance of Nobel Prize winners and associate it with the quality of education provided by that particular university. Similarly, if you see the number of highly cited researchers, so these are around 21 different domains of science, and you can see each of these domains has total number of highly cited researchers around the globe. For example, in the domain of physics, there are total 179 highly cited researchers around the globe. So they are top 1% in their domain. Similarly, in the domain of microbiology, there are 133 highly cited researchers, top 1% scientists around the globe. Now, universities, as we know, these international bodies, ranking bodies, they give weightage to highly cited researchers. So what they try to do, they try to acquire those scientists and researchers which are in the category of highly cited researchers, or they motivate their scientists and researchers to conduct that research which has a direct impact on the society and which can be measurable in the form of highly cited articles produced by those researchers. So if a particular university has higher number of highly cited researcher, they will get higher marks in the international ranking. And if a university doesn't have a highly cited researcher in a particular domain, then of course their ranking in that particular category will not be uh, equal to the universities which are well established and which have these number of Nobel Prize winners and highly cited researchers. Now, if you see uh, highly cited researchers by country or region, you can see United States, China, United Kingdom, Germany, Australia. They are the countries which have the highest number of highly cited researchers. So in US alone, more than 40% highly cited researchers are present. That's why we have majority of the top ranked universities exist in US. Similarly, China, UK, Germany, they have a high percentage of highly cited researchers, and as I mentioned previously, they have higher number of Nobel Prize winners. That's why they have their universities in top rank category. Now, if we just alone talk about particular institutes, for example, Harvard University, alone Harvard University has 188 researchers which are highly cited and which are under the top rank 1% in their domain of research. Similarly, Stanford University, Chinese Academy of Sciences, University of California, Berkeley, you can see they have a number of researchers which have received this honor of highly cited researcher. Now, these highly cited researchers and Nobel laureates, they have a relationship. Majority of the highly cited researchers, they also win a Nobel Prize in future. For example, in 2020, we can see that there are several highly cited researchers which also won the Nobel Prize. And here I mention the details of Nobel laureates, which are identified as highly cited researchers as well. So you can see their research, they are winning not only field medals, but they are also performing well in terms of citations, in terms of producing research, which brings a lot of citations, references, and which also have an impact on the society. And they also won Nobel Prize as well. So the bottom line, the conclusion of this presentation is that uh, the the international ranking of universities is being carried out in a very systematic and scientific way. It's not just that someone sits and say that, okay, this particular university is ranked number one and this particular university is ranked number two. No, they these international ranking bodies, they consider different pillars, different criterias, and based upon those criterias, they have a very uh, uh, predefined and very clear matrices, and then they acquire the proof of those matrices from the universities around the globe, and then uh, they uh, they they issue the international ranking of universities annually. Now, if you see the top ranked universities like MIT, Stanford, Harvard, University of Cambridge, University of Oxford, they are performing well in all of these different international ranking bodies, ranking criteria. Their quality of education is very high. Their research output, their international collaboration, their internationalization aspect, their engagement with the regional economy, uh, you name it, they perform in each. They perform well in each and every criteria. So if we want to improve the ranking of our universities, we need to consider these criterias, these matrices, and we need to make a policy. We need to make a vision that how we can improve the quality of scientific education, the quality of higher education, the quality of research being produced by our universities, so that we increase the ranking of our universities. So if you have any questions, please put your questions under the comment section, and I will be happy to reply you.